I'm going to read the intro for Christina Brewer, who is my guest today on the Ripple Effect podcast, and also someone you're going to see if you happen to watch this on YouTube that is in the video. She's amazing, and she's a former soccer player of mine, just one of the absolute most amazing people you could ever meet. She's just such a joy to know. I was so grateful to have her on my team when I was a young soccer coach, and she was a youth player, and we've stayed friends all these years, and she's just killing life. I mean, as she says in the interview, she's living her best life, which is fantastic. But I want to read the intro just to make it accurate. So Christina Brewer is originally from Austin, Texas, but lives a life a bit like a half-hearted nomad. After a few failed attempts at quote-unquote traditional education, she hit the road as part of a traveling marketing team. 3 years and many miles later, she ended a 7-year career to join the U.S. Navy. While on active duty, she served in Rota, Spain as a radio broadcaster, hosting a daily morning show and producing content for social media. Just before leaving Spain to serve in Bahrain, I think I said that right, Bahrain. She finally completed her 16-year journey towards her bachelor's degree. Bahrain was her last duty station on active duty. She now lives in Spain with her wife and 2 dogs. While she still serves in the Navy Reserve, she has continued to search for ways to influence and connect with those around her. I mean, she is a true rippler. She has facilitated classes on transitioning from the military to the civilian workforce with a heavy focus on networking and building positive and rewarding connections. In addition to owning a small business, she volunteers with the American Red Cross, Girl Scouts of America, and will generally lend a hand where she is needed. And I can tell you from experience, she's always there when you call. I am so thrilled to have Christina Brewer as part of the Ripple Effect podcast. Let's get started. All right, everybody. I am super, super, super excited about this particular interview because I'm a huge fan of Christina Brewer. She is someone I've known for an awful long time. I used to coach her in soccer, believe it or not, when she was a young up-and-comer, if you will. Back in the day, Christina has done some amazing things with her life, and she is also a podcaster and a personality on the radio, and she's done all these things, and we're super excited to learn about her and what she's up to these days. But Christina, thanks for joining the Ripple Effect podcast. I'm super excited that you agreed to do this.
I could not be happier to be here finally.
Well, we've been so that we can give the proper context. So this is going to be on the podcast, but we're also going to do the interview and we're going to put it up on YouTube. But you are obviously outside in an amazing little environment, but you are in Spain and I'm in Austin. So.
Oh, you're in my heart. Yeah, no, I live in Spain. I live in southern Spain. It's beautiful. If there was ever a place that would make me that I should ever live that's not Austin, this is definitely it.
This is it. Yeah. Well, so, let's just dive in. So how do we know one another?
You used to make me run a lot, which is I have been working out with my therapist, my deep-rooted anxiety related to running. You were my soccer coach. You were not only my soccer coach, but like a sounding board. So I've known you for a long time. I think I've known you like more than half of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're old.
I mean, wow. This could be a really short interview today. I don't know.
I'm old too, so it's fine.
Yeah, well, no, not at all. I mean, you still look great. I am definitely getting old. So
I would recognize you in a crowd. You haven't changed at all.
I don't know about that. And speaking of those laps, I will tell you, you do. Yeah, I know. I like that. I like the look. It looks really good.
I don't know.
Is this a quarantine kind of thing or?
Yeah, quarantine was weird for us here. It was very strict here. So
you guys were locked down earlier than we were, and for a longer period of time, right?
Yeah, and we locked down March 12th, and things started to open up fully, like being able to go out and eat and do all those things, traveling around opened up, I guess, like the beginning of August. And then our cases went up, and now we're slowly bringing our circles back. But still a beautiful, beautiful world
Yep.
that we live in. So no complaints here.
Absolutely. So, so that the listeners of the podcast and the viewers of the video know a little bit of the backstory. What brought you, or what took you to Spain? And you bought a house there. I mean, life is there. This is not a temporary thing. You're there, right?
Yeah. So in 2011, I quit everything that I was doing. I mean, I was touring with 9 of my best friends, doing marketing touring, living my best life, but I always wanted to serve in the military. I don't know why.
Yep.
I think anyone that knows me would be like, why is that the thing you want to do? So I quit my job. I went back to Texas. I was too fat to join the Navy. My recruiter so kindly told me. So I had to lose 60 pounds. And then I joined the Navy. I joined the Navy. I'm a journalist for the Navy. My first set of orders were to row to Spain. I was here. I met my now wife in an airport.
Yeah.
And I went to Bahrain for a year and a half. Then we got married, came back here, got 2 dogs, a house with a pool that I don't understand, and, living my best life.
You're living your best life. I love that. So, what's really amazing, I think that when you and I connected right before you were about to embark on basic training for the Navy, you were like, yeah, I feel like this is a calling at this point of my life. And what I've known about you forever since I knew you, I can't call you a kid. You are a great young woman who gave me a lot of grief at soccer practice occasionally, just because you could. We had this great, back and forth antagonistic relationship. I love
question everything,
and not in a bad way. What's that?
Question everything.
What's that? Why are we doing this lineup? Why is this strategy? Why are you putting me in this position? Actually, nothing has changed. I just have boys that do the same thing now. So, that's just the way it is. Yeah. So, but, you have always been somebody that has kind of lived your life out on the edge, and you've always said, hey, I'll try anything and do anything. And so when you kind of told me the news you were going into the Navy, it didn't shock me, because it seemed like, okay, of course you would take this path and do something, unconventional at that point. Cause at that point you were out of, you had been out of school a while and kind of living this, this kind of very unique travel life. And then that just kind of shifted, and you're like, okay, now this is the chapter I'm going to try. Yeah.
So I'm actually afraid of everything. I'm not like a super brave person naturally. My survival instincts are to hide. So every year I make it a point to do something I'm afraid of. Yeah. I have to do one thing that makes me uncomfortable to remind myself that while I may be the Kobe beef of humans, I am capable of surviving a little discomfort. So, it's led me down some interesting roads, quitting my job, joining the military. I learned how to scuba dive. I should be in culinary school right now, but COVID.
Yeah.
So next year, buying a house in a foreign country, getting married, all these things that are, not, they take you out of your comfort zone. I didn't join the military. I was 28 years old. What?
Yeah.
The oldest person in boot camp. I was just, I think it's super easy to stay comfortable, and you have to kind of find those things that you're willing to try to remind yourself that you can survive a little discomfort.
Absolutely.
Not much, but a little.
Well, so what was the inspiration behind figuring out what that one thing is a year? I mean, what kind of drove you to discover that? Was that something you did on your own? Was it something your parents encouraged you to do, or your now wife, or what was it?
I found myself kind of not doing things because they didn't necessarily scare me, but because they were not comfortable, traveling alone. I used to travel by myself all the time, but on tour, I traveled with a whole team. And then that's actually how I met my wife. I went on a trip to a country by myself that I wasn't meeting anyone in and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, like get uncomfortable. And then I was like, I love scuba diving. I love watching other people's videos and seeing their photos. And I was like,
Yeah.
why don't you just do it yourself? Because I don't like
Yeah.
being underwater. Don't go put your face in the water, you know? Like it just kind of became a thing. And now it's something I try to make myself do. Like I try to think, why am I not doing this? Why am I not having this experience? I don't plan on throwing myself out of a perfectly good airplane, but I've flown on Ryanair, and those are like the most terrifying airplanes. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of saw that in you as a young person. I mean, you were willing to try virtually anything, but you had to have the good reason why something was in front of you. If somebody else suggested it, you were like, let's talk about this first. I mean,
do you have my best interests at heart? It's always it's a survival instinct. Why are we doing this?
But I remember right after you graduated high school, you came by the office for my old company, and you would just pop on by. They were the greatest days and visits, and I was just so amazingly honored that you would continue to come by, and that I hadn't just totally made you hate me because of soccer and all the runs that we had to do and all the different things. But you were without question one of my all-time favorite soccer players, and I loved you as a person, right? You just made me so proud back then. You continue to make me proud today. But when you came by, one of those first times by my office after you had graduated, you were headed to an audition for American Idol, like right as it was kind of kicking off, right?
Yeah.
I mean, was that sort of your first, like one of your first big things as an adult that you decided, hey, I'm going to just, swing for the fences and go for it?
Yeah, that was oh my God. And it was like winter, and we stood outside. Was it like the Red Lion or something? Like some terrible hotel.
Really shady hotel.
Yeah, like now you'd be like, this is a scam. They're gonna rob me. And I mean we stood outside for hours. I think we finally we finally got a number at like 4 a.m. And by then I was so numb and so cold. I was like, this isn't even worth it, because probably not gonna even get selected. We're like the third city. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd really put a name to what I was doing, or like a name to that concept yet.
Yeah.
I think it was just one of those moments. And when you're younger, it's so much easier than when you're older to make those decisions. Like you don't see a lot of older people quit their career or join the military or, just swing for the fences and hope for the best. So, I mean, I couldn't do anything without the support of my family, people like you, people who are like, I mean, you could do it, but it might not be a good idea. You can't do any of those things on your own, because if you fail, who's going to laugh at you? And when you're successful, who's going to say, can I have some of that? You don't have anything to share it with. That's not fun. It's hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, it impressed me at the time, and it continues to impress me. In fact, I've used you as an example in a couple of the talks I've given about the Ripple, because I think that first leap of faith that you had in yourself springboarded you to all the great success that you've had. And I definitely want to catch up with what you're doing today and the podcast that you've done and what you were doing, what you sort of this newfound talent you discovered when you were in the military, for sure. But, I have to say for sure that, I could see the support that you had from your brother and your parents when you were growing up, and they always let you be who you were. And you were always the most optimistic, positive person that I could ever, possibly ever hope to coach. I mean, it was just an absolute pleasure to have you on the team. And when you really, we aged out, we became, kind of, the team kind of disbanded for that period, because you guys all had gone off to your adult lives. It was like sad, because I remember at practice, you always were on my side. And at the games, when you come out of the game, you were on my side, and you were just always talking to me like, hey, do you really know what you're doing, coach? I mean, do you really have any clue what's
Do you
You
remember?
kept me humble to a major degree.
I remember I had walked on to the junior varsity team at Round Rock, and we played Pflugerville, and I played one game with them because the coach, I was like, I play with these people. What are you doing? You can't beat their offense, because there was Tina, you know, just like, I was like, you can't let her ever get the ball. And he's like, you don't even play on varsity. And I was like, it doesn't matter. And then I went and sat with the girls from the Pflugerville team, and I was not asked back for even a practice. But, and then I coached a year. I coached under 12. I don't know how I did it. It was the hardest season of soccer I was ever involved in. I didn't even do anything.
Welcome to coaching. Yes.
Oh, why won't you put my daughter in? Your daughter hasn't been to practice in a month. She's the best player on the team. She's just sitting on the sidelines with her finger up her nose. Okay. Man.
Yeah.
I miss it, though.
I always thought you would go back to coaching. I know you had said when you got over to Spain, well, last time I saw you in Austin, you said that at some point you wanted to potentially, get back involved and do that, but you're doing a lot of other work. Before we go into the career stuff, maybe tell, folks what you do in terms of volunteerism and the things that you're passionate about. I know it's the Girl Scouts, the Red Cross, and you've been involved in a lot of things, because the neat thing about this young lady here is she is a giver. She will give her heart. She'll give her, her time. And she has just always been someone, even way back when she played for me as a player, did not matter. She was the first person. If somebody, came off the field and wasn't having a good game, you were the first person over there to talk to them and pick them back up. And you just always have this infectious way about yourself. Not only just the smile, which is still intact, I can tell you, for those that see this video, still perfect. But you just have an unbelievable motivational streak, which is just really inspiring.
I volunteer. I was volunteering at Red Cross today. I help them with their community garden. I volunteer with Girl Scouts. I'm one of the committee chairs here. I volunteer at dog shelters. It doesn't really matter. If you come to me and say like, hey, we need extra hands, I'm like, great, I'm available on this day. Can we work it? That's, to me, like, I think you meet the most unique people when you're volunteering. Even if you've worked with them every day, when you meet them in like a volunteer mindset, it's completely different. And I love volunteering. I don't care. People are like, well, I think that's one thing that I liked about my job in the military was you're a volunteer. You're there doing a job, but I got to tell people stories. I was a journalist. I got to tell me everything about your life. Cool. Like sharing that. It's that same kind of mindset of building your community around you. And that's, I think, where I really have found that root in volunteerism versus going to work every day. Now, it's not sustainable, right? Like, I'm in a position where I don't have to work as much as most people. Not that I can't. It's just jobs are harder over here if you're a spouse. There's just limits. But I probably spend as many hours volunteering as most people work. And I love it. I love it. You got to stay busy too,
Well, so the experience that you had in the Navy, kind of being this journalist, telling the stories, I mean, tell us a little bit about that, what that involved, because you were really a radio personality for them for, a while. And then you parlayed that into kind of this podcast, Facebook show that you're doing. So I want everybody to know about both of those.
So to be fair, there's probably like one job in the military that I am capable and qualified to do, and that is journalist, because I'm nosy. I have no problem with asking why over and over and over until I get the answer I want. But here, it's so funny. I used to listen to this show in Austin, Jen Garrison and Sarah Trexler in the morning. I don't know if you remember. It was like when I was in high school. It was a morning drive-in on 101X. And I used to record it on cassette tapes because I couldn't listen to the second half of the show because the bus came. So, so I loved it. And I always wanted to do radio. And when I was at attempt number 4 of a degree, I was at Texas State and I was trying to get into broadcasting. It didn't work. So I kind of always carried this passion for radio around. And then I do all these other things, join the military of all things. And you're like, would you like to be on the radio in Spain? Yes. Yes, I would.
Yes.
So for like, over a decade, I had been trying to do this. And then sometimes it's just not the season and you got to wait your turn. And then I got here and I loved being on the radio. I loved it so much. It's such a great way to communicate. It's such a great way to put out messages, connect directly with your audience. And with social media, it's so easy. It's not like you have to call and be like, could you play me this song? And also, like you just get that live interaction. It's so wonderful.
So how have you parlayed that into what you're doing now with that? Because you during the COVID lockdown, I know you had this show that you were working on, and is that it's once a week now, but tell us a little bit about that.
So my co-host on the radio is T-Bone. I gave him that name. He's very lucky. But my friend Tony, and he's like my exact opposite. When we first met each other, I didn't like him. He knows this. It's not a secret. And we just became best friends. And that's
awesome.
He comes from like a stand-up background. He's a retiree. He's done lots of radio, and we worked really well on radio together. So we started, turning some of our radio shows into podcasts and kind of continuing the content outside of our kind of restricted community of being on a military radio station. And during the quarantine, we had quarantine conversations, which were at the time a nightly occurrence. Now they're Wednesday at 9 p.m. our time, which is like the middle of your
2
day.
2 p.m. Texas?
2 p.m. Texas time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those are on Facebook. And we meet through Zoom. So it's a short 40 minutes. It was really nice because we got to connect with people that we didn't even know. Like, oh, so-and-so. Oh, that's how you got into this group. Met a lot of people from Kansas, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. It's just really nice to hear other people's take on what was happening around them and share when you were only seeing one other person a day in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Conversations. Good time.
Well, and you mentioned it earlier, you were planning on coming to New York to attend culinary school for a period of time, but COVID kind of shut that down. But is that one of those leaps of faith? Is that something that you're like, hey, I've not done it, I'm going to try it, let's go for it? Or is there a different story behind why that was on the horizon for you?
There's a reason we're only doing the camera from the shoulders up, because that's the skinny part of my body. No, I love to cook. I love to cook so much. I made 5 pies in 2 weeks. I was on a pie kick. Dangerous. But I love to cook, and actually learning how to do something is not the same as like dabbling in it. If you like, I dabble in cross stitch, but I don't actually know if I'm doing it right. Like I'm sewing some stuff and it maybe will look like the picture I intended it to look like. But actually like learning a skill and a trade, it takes commitment and focus and all these things that I don't necessarily always have. So going to school is kind of like my way of taking something I love and making it serious. Where we live has very traditional Spanish food. It is delicious, but there's not a huge amount of variety. I already have one home-based business. I am hoping to branch out into a second when I get done, of private dining. Like a kind of like, our community is very, very small. You cannot go out to eat anywhere and not see that person you didn't want to see sitting at the table next to you. So I want to be able to offer people in this community an opportunity to, even if they want to sit on their couch and watch Netflix, have like a fine dining experience with their food allergies or preferences being taken into consideration. No language barrier. When I first got here, I was a vegetarian, and I would go out and I would say sin carne, they'd still put bacon on it, or everything is cooked in chicken stock or fish stock. So, knowing that you are about to have a good meal and not have anything you don't want and only things you do want in the comfort and privacy of your own home. I'm hoping it might not take off, but I feel like there's a market for it. So.
Oh, that's awesome. No, that fantastic. So how long is culinary school, and why New York as opposed to like, the culinary school in Austin?
So
where we could see each other.
I know.
And you could cook for me.
Oh. Well, you'd also have to provide me with a couch. Because the whole point of going in New York was, one, it's like the number 2 cooking school in America. And 2, I was going to stay with a friend. Now that may be changing because everyone's plans for how they're going to live their life is changing. So it's ideally still be going next May, just waiting on some details to work themselves out.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then how long is the school?
8 months. 8 months. So it's not very long.
8 months. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you'll still get to Texas, so we can actually have our Hot Shots team reunion, right?
Yes. And that's why when I made that, I was like, I should be done in February. So we'll say at some point in February. And now it's like February 2 years from now. But we should still do it. We should still get the band back together. I'm not running.
We will definitely get the band back together. I mean, I'm old. I could kick it between now and then. I don't know. You never know. But
so. I feel pretty good about that. You're like, sure. Run the laps.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. We're definitely getting together at a field somewhere at some point.
I'm going to break my ankle on purpose.
It's so weird for those people that, kind of maybe haven't heard some of my old podcasts or don't follow me on Facebook, but Christina and most of her teammates, I think I met all of you like when you were 11 or 12, maybe at that time. And kind of the interesting story behind the team was at that point, we lived in a community outside of Austin called Pflugerville, which is spelled it's spelled like it sounds, and it's horrendous, right? So it was just this little tiny community. And when I first came to the Austin area and I wanted to coach, I had been coaching in a previous town that I'd lived in. And I came here and I'm like, hey, I want to coach. They're like, yeah, we don't have anything open for you except this one girls team. And, half the girls were juvenile delinquents, and they had to do something. It was like court ordered that they had to do. Christina was not one of those. I will point that out. But then we had these other girls that were kind of like these preppy, sort of well-to-do kind of individuals. And it was a weird kind of culmination of, trying to create this team and personality types and whatnot. But at that point, it was actually only going to be for a season because Pflugerville didn't actually put any emphasis on girls playing soccer beyond the age of 12, I think. So the original intent was we were just going to, we were going to play this season. And then, they would tell the girls, hey, there's no more soccer. And I went and fought for that because it's like, you guys are idiots for doing this. These are amazing girls, all of them, including my juvenile delinquents. I loved every single player that played for us, and we could go far and do something, which took us a long time. We were like the bad news bears of soccer without question. Remember those first uniforms we had? We looked like pumpkins. They were horrible.
They were not good.
Yeah, they were not good. We got the worst uniforms. We didn't play all that great initially, but then eventually what happened was this sense of community, really kind of came together with these girls. They started caring about one another. They started to really want to play for someone other than themselves, which was pretty amazing. And next thing you know, we did pretty well.
Oh man. And what was that? South Austin?
Yeah.
That's you. Oh my God.
Oh yeah. Oh, that team. Yeah.
Oh man. Also,
they used to own us until we owned them.
Why did we always eat Taco Bell before the games? I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, we used to always go to Taco Bell before a game. And I was like, I don't even think I can stomach Taco Bell in a resting position. I was like, oh, you see,
Okay, to be clear, the coach said don't eat Taco Bell. And you guys were like, hey, let's all meet at Taco Bell. And then we'll go do our warm-up.
Made perfect sense.
That was not me.
Still sounds perfect.
Yeah.
The only time Taco Bell sounds good is if you said specifically not to.
Yeah, if I said to do it, you guys went the opposite. There was no doubt in my mind about that.
Why didn't you ever say don't
so
run
really
laps?
quickly, this see, reverse psychology. See, I just wasn't that smart. I was a young coach. I didn't have the wherewithal to make that that leap. No, it was an amazing experience. I'm really blessed to have had the opportunity to meet all of you girls and be able to coach you at that time in your life, which for a guy that was in his late 20s, I mean, I don't even know if you could possibly do that legally now to, be so, restrictive in terms of organization. But I mean, I had to, provide, character references and, legal things for some players. We had girls are the smartest soccer players. I'll just tell you that right now without question. But man, emotional. And I'm trying to deal with this without actually having daughters or, I only have my wife and she was just playing crazy, I thought. But then I got a whole team of crazy. And
that's how.
But it was the greatest experience because, yeah, I did. Yeah. That was, I still remember when we had Zach. I mean, he was like, you guys like passed him around like a piñata at our end of the season party, which was kind of fun.
Man, I still remember that day and us finishing the second game, and we all called on like this old phone.
Oh yeah,
that just called people, and you're like, "How was it?" And we're like, "What about the
baby?" Yeah, we had made it to the next level of a pretty important state tournament. And, unfortunately, my kid did not come at the time he was supposed to come. So I didn't want to get a divorce that early. And so I decided I better stay with my wife. And so I had a pinch hitter coach. And that was an undefeated season, by the way. We were running into that next level Western District tournament undefeated. And the first game, you guys went out and struggled a little bit. Unfortunately, that coach, who, by the way, is a good friend of mine, and I still play soccer. Well, until she hurt her back, I played soccer with her. But every time that comes up, I'm the one that ruined your perfect season and cost you state. But I mean, I'm glad she acknowledges her mistakes. You go with the game plan I gave you. That's the bottom line. And you guys call me, and we did have that question. We did have that conversation about, well, what happened? Who screwed up? You guys, what about the baby? No, he's fine. It's good. Yeah, he's little.
Yeah.
But
I mean, but that's like, we were just a family by then.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It was, well, because we had come through so many hard times as a team, right? We had dealt with a bunch of personal stuff off the field with different players and their struggles with their families or issues at school or what have you. And then I think a lot of those girls didn't ever think of themselves as winners. So that season especially was one of my favorite of all times because it was proof we could do it. And not only did we do it, we blew away the competition that season. They could make a movie, like remember the Titans, but remember the Hot Shots. I mean, I think that could be our movie. You should work on that. You should write that screenplay.
I'm writing a book right now, and I was like, I feel like it's really coming together. It's 7 pages. Okay, 7 pages.
What's the book? Let's explore this. What's the book?
I'm writing. So my wife teaches 7th grade language arts, and she says there's not enough middle grade literature out there that faces as many real world problems as she'd like to see. So I was like, challenge accepted. It is a challenge.
Yeah.
But nice. I'm working on it. I have a concept. I have all of the ups and downs in my head. I need to put them on paper.
Yeah.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start talk to texting it into my phone and then copy and paste it and then edit it, because I get distracted.
Yes. So we'll talk offline, but I've got ideas for you there. And then I've got somebody who's a great editor when you get to that phase who would help you pull that thing together. And then depending on how you want to produce it, print it, so I can definitely hook you up there. So
I appreciate that.
We're rippling still. I mean, it's awesome.
Always.
Always. Well, so as we wind this down,
mini shows lately.
A couple of things. You have?
Yeah. One of the ladies
you don't?
No, I have. Like, one of the ladies that is a physical therapist here, she has it on her bookshelf. I was talking to a lady inside the public affairs office today, and she was like, "What a great ripple." And I was like, "Go on." And then a friend of mine messaged me today. I had sent him a care package during the height of the virus because he had a loss in his family, and I just wanted to share some joy. Yep. And he said, ever since that day, it just created a really positive ripple effect in my life. And he sent me that message today, and I was like, what a beautiful
Here
world.
We are. Oh my gosh.
It's so wonderful.
And you didn't set that up at all. This is not like this is not staged.
I will send you a screenshot. I will send you the screenshot.
I would love it. That's awesome. Well, so, I always like to ask people a couple of ripple questions before we wrap these things up. I mean, you and I could talk for hours, and I would certainly love to do a follow-up to this at some point, especially as you get further down the path with your book. And then, just all the various adventures that you're having with your life. I mean, I can't tell you how proud to know you I am. I mean, it's just, you're an amazing human for sure. No doubt. But here's a question. So if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you be doing?
Running for president.
Let's just call it COVID. But what would you like to be doing?
Running for president.
You're living it?
Running for president.
You're living your best life?
What? No, I'd be running.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, running for president.
Running for president.
Hands down.
That's a good one.
I think not this time, but next time, maybe keep an eye out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like it.
So
the president of Spain or the president of the United States?
Of America, my friend.
Or both.
And I don't want to have to do the residency because my Spanish isn't that great. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, I hear you. So here's another one. What's the most surprising thing that you have learned about yourself living in a foreign country like Spain?
Oh, that's a really good question. That my Spanish is not that good. Well, I've learned about myself. I guess that I'm bolder than I had thought I would be coming to a foreign country, and especially living in a foreign country. Even without having good Spanish, I still try to go out and talk to people, and I'll use Google Translate, but I still want to make that personal connection without language. And you think that would be hard to do, but it's actually not as hard as you'd think.
Really? And in Spain, is it pretty multilingual? I mean, do you have a lot of folks that actually speak some English so that you can communicate at some basic level, or is it complete immersion?
In
the area you're in?
We're kind of weird because we are near the base, so there's a lot of Americans here. So it's a lot of the younger people will speak English, but older people don't necessarily, because why should they? We're in Spain. I should know Spanish. I've lived here for a very long time. That's a shame on me. But even if you don't know the language, I'm kind of surprised how forgiving they are of you butchering their language. And how even still, they want to connect. They know that you're going to struggle. They know that you're not going to use the right tenses or probably even the right word, but they're grateful if you are, if you try and if you're friendly. And that's kind of the craziest thing is, especially where we live now is a suburb. We don't live where we used to live, which is a bunch of Americans and tourists. We are surrounded by Spaniards who people next door to us have a farm, right? Like we're in the burbs.
Yeah.
So it's not as
you broke up a little bit there. Not as what?
Oh, so it's like not as like Americanized. We're like in the neighborhood that we're in now.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. Well, so I know you know the power of the ripple because you and I've talked about it. You've actually, I mean, you are what I would call one of the world's greatest ripplers. But what does the ripple effect actually mean to you?
I love to make that personal connection with my community, and that is kind of where I base my ripple, is try to, instead of like my drop being the center, I want my community to be the center of that ripple. I don't think it's something that I can do on my own. I recommend your book, The Ripple Effect, and the podcast to people when I do transition assistance training, because it's not just about networking. You can network and schmooze all day, but it's really about that initial impact to me. Like everything else that you do from this second on is based off of that initial impact. What does that look like to you? Is that something that you would want to wash over you? Because if the answer is no, then that is not the right that's not the right idea.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. Well, and I know you kind of saw the power of the ripple because we touched on it, but we actually didn't come back to it on the Girl Scouts. Your passion for that. I know one of the things that you were hoping to accomplish and hopefully at least made some progress with it was the ripple that, connecting you with Sylvia Acevedo, who's a good friend of mine. That's the CEO of Girl Scouts. Were you able to establish some rapport with her? And I know she messaged me and said she was super impressed, with what you're trying to accomplish over there. And they need more people like you committed to that volunteerism for the Girl Scouts. But that was kind of a good example of what the ripple process could really do.
Yeah. I mean, that was such an amazing experience for me personally, but also we were able to talk about some things that are much bigger than me, right? So talking about the future of Girl Scouting overseas, especially in a very transient community. A lot of these girls, this is the glue that holds their world together. It's what they came here with, and it's what they'll leave here with. And for a long time, the program wasn't strong here. We had a lot of people coming in and going, and there wasn't as much love put into it. I wish she could come and see what we have done, because it is insane. And I say we because it is not a me at all. I just joke and always say I'm the person that says no, that costs too much, and I'm the person who makes sure all the paperwork gets put through in time. But I mean, my co-chair Andrea, she has re-envisioned what our organization can offer here in Rhoda.
That's awesome.
And if you had seen it when I got here in 2013, it was literally just a bunch of kids sitting on the floor coloring, to the STEM program that our girls built, not the adults, but our senior girls were like, this is what we want to do. And we want to teach daisies, so 6th graders and up, what STEM is. Okay, yes. So that girl power, that girl-led activism, it is so wonderful. We also owe her a t-shirt. She doesn't know it, but we have new t-shirt designs, so I need to send that when we get them in.
I like t-shirts. I mean, hey, I'm just saying.
What is that, a schmedium? So you look super swole?
Funny. Yes.
What size is that?
It's large.
Okay, Swoley the elf over here.
Funny. You're really, man, cracking jokes. I love it.
I'm at a safe distance and you can't make me run. I'm wearing flip-flops.
Not yet. But you will be back. And I will find you.
What's the furthest? I'm like
Liam Neeson. I have a particular set of skills.
What is the largest excuse one of your players has ever used to get out of running laps? Well, Christina moved to Spain.
She had to completely jump continents to get away from me. Yeah. Stephanie Hernandez plays, well, her married name's now Gerlach, but, or her current name. And she played indoor with me and she said, "Oh my God, we got to get Christina out here." And I'm like, she will love it because you run more in indoor than you did outdoor.
I love running to play soccer.
Yeah.
I do not. Why am I running to just run? It gives me anxiety. Where are we going? Why are we going in circles? There's no, I need there to be a goal at the end, preferably the goal being slightly shoving into someone and taking the ball, but just running. I'm not going to do that.
I know. I remember. Trust me. But you were far more talented than you ever gave yourself credit for as a soccer player. And I had it would be fun.
One shot on goal and I missed the whole 10 years we played. I was like, oh my God, there's no one to pass the ball to, and you're like, shoot it!
Shoot it! You shot it. Hey, it was a great shot though. It was if the goal had been to the far right, maybe 20 yards further. I mean, you had promise. You had promise. You took it the whole length of the field too, which you never intended to do.
Well, because there's a lot of running.
I mean, you outran our forwards, which was great. So
it was a mistake. It was
you had the goal. You had the purpose. So
it was a mistake.
You were literally, what do I do? Shoot it. Well, yeah. Where is she? Help. It was awesome.
Is she hurt? Why is
that was one of many positive memories. I guarantee you. Well, Christina, I really, really enjoyed this. This was just awesome to catch up and really have an opportunity to just, hear about all that you've got going on. Is there a way that people can tune into your show? Can you maybe provide a link or, how do they find it?
So our Facebook page is called T-Bone and Chick Brew Cavalcade. And
T-Bone
you can.
And Chick
Brew. Yeah. I gave Tony his name. Facebook, and he gave me my name. Yeah. And if you type in the hashtag LUNSB, LUNSB, it will also take you to the cavalcade.
Okay. Is that correct that I have on screen? Perfect. So, and you guys are now doing that every Wednesday, did you say?
Every Wednesday, yeah. Mm-hmm. Once a week.
Okay. All right. And is there any other social media that you want people to look for you on, or they can find you, all your information off that page?
For me personally, always hit me up on Facebook. I use it for personal, professional. The thing that I've really been focusing a lot of time on is my dog's Instagram page.
Yeah.
I love him so much.
And it's cute. Where is he?
I think he's in the house. We're trying to be professional, and so they're inside. That's why I'm outside. My dogs get the air conditioning while I sit outside. That's how much I love him. But that's probably also a great way to connect with me, because that's where I'm kind of doing a lot of my, I'm doing a lot more video and photos there than anywhere else right now. So,
and what's that profile?
Pleasure. Sir Rupert the Regal Beagle. It's
Rupert with 2 P's?
1 P, and it has little underscores instead of spaces.
Sir, and then underscore, Rupert, underscore
the,
yep.
Regal.
Beagle?
Beagle, yeah.
How do you spell beagle? I forget. Beagle? Yes.
You could do it.
Yeah, I think
Oh, there he is.
I'm putting it on the screen. Let's hope this is right. We'll see. Oh, man. I should have got that from you beforehand before we hit record, but does that look right?
Yeah, that looks great. I'm sure if you type that in, you'll find him. He's the most cutest beagle on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he also has his own hashtags, Snuffle all the day. He's a great dog.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I definitely encourage everyone that is watching this video or tuning into the podcast to go check out all the great stuff Christina's putting out online, and definitely tune into her weekly show. She is hilarious. You just got a little glimpse of how awesome she is here. She is amazing. You will love her, and you'll love Rupert. Apparently, Rupert, the Regal Beagle, is awesome.
He's the best.
And I have seen that. I've seen the profile. It looks really. My dog's not as cool as your dog. We have to get them together. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this. I really do appreciate it. And for those of you that are listening on the podcast, as always, I really appreciate you participating in the Ripple Effect podcast. I certainly enjoy the opportunity to bring you amazing people doing amazing work out there. And Christina is just somebody that you're going to love to follow and get to know a little better. She's out there creating and making a difference in the world. And it's just such an honor and a privilege to have her on the show. So, Christina, thanks once again. And as always, ripple on.
No, you ripple on.